Most commercial cannabis facilities avoid living soil. Why? It's harder to control, slower to scale, and mistakes can be incredibly expensive. But at Collective Elevation in Bozeman, Montana, Adam and his team chose the hard path and turned it into a competitive advantage. This isn't just one of the largest cannabis cultivators in Montana, it's a facility built around soil biology, plant health, and flavor-driven results. Adam has become one of the country's leading voices in living soil cultivation, even partnering with KISS Organics to host and teach the Cannabis Cultivation and Science Conference at his growing operation, where growers toured this facility to learn from decades of experience. So we're here in Montana at Collective Elevation, a totally organic, living soil commercial cannabis grow. And I have Huck here. I think he's the team mascot. We're in Bozeman, Montana. It is beautiful, it's gorgeous out. But seriously, these guys are growing some of the most organic and all natural cannabis at scale. They're one of the largest growing operations in the state, if not the largest. Let's go inside and meet Adam and the team. Come on, Huck, let's go. Let's go.
I grew up in Minnesota. I was a wilderness ranger in the Boundary Waters, and I always knew I was going to live in either Montana or Idaho. I went to school in Idaho for natural resource ecology, conservation biology, wilderness management, but I recognized that there wasn't much of a future in government work. And so basically on my 30th birthday, I decided I was going to start a business. What brought me here was opportunity in a place that I could actually get behind doing the things that I love and was passionate about, which was wilderness, hot springs, the outdoors, skiing, just basically being a dirtbag. Right when I moved here, I bought my first farm, which was out in Clarkston. It's about 40 miles out in the boonies. This is an off-grid facility. I had to have a delivery service because I didn't have any brick and mortar or money to actually start, or even the ability to run a store at that time. So I bought this off-grid 20-acre plot for $60,000 and started building hoop houses from Craigslist. And at that time, I started my first plants without even having the greenhouses to put them in or a house to dry them in. And that summer, I also always had wanted to build my own house. So I actually called up one of my childhood friends. So I basically started building my own house to dry my cannabis in and live in. And at that point, my first employee besides Joe was, who's now my director of operations, Keely. She came and Joe met her at a rainbow gathering and she came out to help trim. And this was the gray days where people were living in buses, wall tents. I built a sauna and there's a little room above the sauna. And so the trimmers would work 18-hour days, 6 a.m. till, midnight. And I would run the trim crew, harvest, bring all the cannabis in to be wet trimmed.
I worked for him out in the off-grid farm that he used to have. So it was all hoop houses, wood burning stoves, solar. It was a lot of work. And it was just him and Mateus, another coworker, and I. And so we just were out there every day, hauling 5-gallon buckets of water and just living off-grid, growing cannabis. It was awesome. Adam and I are husband and wife. We have 2 beautiful kids.
Because this is off-grid, there's no electricity, so I got solar panels and I would run generators, and I'm heating all my hoop houses with, the first summer there was only 2 hoop houses and it evolved to 4. I'm heating those with wood barrel stoves. Working a 16-hour day in the old days and having to stoke wood stoves at midnight, 3 and 6 a.m. It had been raining for about a week, and this is out in the Missouri River mud, so this is some of the stickiest mud you can imagine. So when you walk in it, your boots become 20-pound boots. They just get more and more mud on them. And one night at 3 a.m., I'm pushing a wheelbarrow of firewood from my house up to my greenhouse. and it's just a gentle outslope on a muddy trail, and my wheelbarrow wheel is just filling with mud. You can't even push it anymore because as you're pushing the wheel, it's just getting more and more mud built up on it. My feet have 20 pounds of mud on them, and every step I take forward, I slide 2 feet to the left on this gentle of incline that should not even be considered a slope. It's raining on me, I'm exhausted. I've been doing this for 30 days straight now, running a crew, and I just sat down in the mud, completely dejected. Had had enough, and as I'm sitting there in the rain, just laying, don't even care anymore, I'm having these visions essentially of this facility right here. And at that point, that was a major mental change where I started working towards designing the facility of my dreams. We're at Tier 12 here in Montana. We do it also. Our year-round greenhouses are running. We have 12,000 square feet of year-round greenhouse canopy, and those can withstand the hot summers as well as the cold winters. Additionally, in the summertime, we really up our production to fulfill our full potential as far as canopy, and we utilize both outdoor, full outdoor. We're one of 10 cultivators in Montana that's allowed to grow commercially outside. We also have 3 hoop houses that we run as well for joint products.
So Adam, one of the reasons we're here is you guys are such a well-known and respected brand in the Montana market, and it's because you guys do things here differently than a lot of other cultivators, and namely being a very all-natural living soil, which I want you to actually define first, maybe some of the people that aren't familiar with that term.
Very few cultivators at scale in America have living soil systems. Even though it's, in my opinion, a superior growing style, you do have to be able to read the plants and just be able to actually understand and kind of take a pulse of the plant. You got to be able to recognize plant health. It's not so plug and play as a lot of these salt-based hydro systems where you can just do an SOP and a recipe. Like, my team has to actually know what's going on. So what we're trying to do with this living soil system is basically recreate the way this plant evolved for millions of years. We're recreating forest ecosystem processes, which is the leaves fall off the trees, they create a mulch layer, microbes and worms come up and eat that mulch layer, turn it into, and they digest the soil. They make all the nutrients that are in that soil bioavailable to the plants through basically decomposition and breakdown, with all the technology of modern systems to make up for where Mother Nature is lacking. We can actually purchase the amendments needed to make up for any lacking in Mother Nature. The same as our state-of-the-art greenhouse systems. Nothing beats the sun. So when the sun's out, which is 320 days a year in Bozeman, Montana, we have the lowest cost per unit from an energy standpoint because our lights are off. And when the sun goes away and Mother Nature doesn't do the job we want it to do, we make up for it with technology and state-of-the-art facilities. So this living soil system we're fostering tons of microbes, fungal networks. If you scrape away the surface, it's a little bit dry right now, but you can see them all moving in. See how living the soil is? There's worms and worms. Look at that. That is living soil. These worms are breaking down. So what we say is we don't feed the plants, we feed the soil.
Why do you prefer cannabis plants grown in living soil versus the alternative?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. The win-win-win of better for the planet, better for the people, and cheaper to produce. So from a business perspective, you very rarely get those 3 wins. But first of all, if done properly, it's cheaper. That is amazing in business, and that should appeal to anybody regardless of their ethics. You can actually do it cheaper than other systems. Part of our mission statement is in fact sustainability. Brings out specific flavonoids, specific terpenes that the same exact pheno or strain grown indoors in a salt-based system does not have. One of the beauties of living soil systems is you don't ever have to replace the soil if you do everything right. So this soil was put in this mom room when we built it, which was 2020. So this is now 5-year-old soil, still going strong. Essentially, we're testing this soil, sending it off to Logan Labs to get our fertility reports, and then we get a saturated paste test, and we're actually reading what we think this soil needs in order to feed this plant. Then we amend with base nutrients, which another beauty of the living soil system is you can use byproducts from other industries, things like fish meal, blood meal, alfalfa meal, things like that. And therefore you can actually have cheaper inputs. We say we don't feed the plants, we feed the soil. So we're using compost teas, which essentially, much like brewing a beer, where you will add a sugar and a yeast, and then some oxygen, and that yeast will consume all that sugar, and as a byproduct, it puts out CO2 and alcohol. What we'll do is we'll brew these microbes to way beyond their natural carrying capacity in nature. So we'll brew billions of them by feeding. They'll eat the sugar and they'll reproduce really fast over a 48-hour period. Then when you pour that onto the soil, they will break down what looks like big rocks into smaller and smaller particle sizes in conjunction with worms and other nematodes and living organisms within our soil. They will break all these down and make them bioavailable to the plant.
We'll let that brew for a couple days, and then about 36 hours is ideal. I do one on transplants, one on flip, and then just depending on the season and depending on what our soil's looking like, I'll do 2 to 3 more. And with that, in the past, we've used like products like EM1, and we've used microbial mass, which are like, microbial mass is a phosphorus solubilizing bacteria, which is incredibly important. Phosphorus is crucial to plant growth, so if you've got it tied up in your soil, it can be a really big issue. A lot of our tea is aimed at feeding the soil, not just adding back into it, but also feeding the microbes that are already there.
Much of my breeding and energy, probably greater than 75%, is just for Montana-specific outdoor genetics. This is Orangeade. So Orangeade is, a classic, obviously, super citrus. This is Hurricane Dawn, which is a Donny Burger Slurricane cross that I made. And then you've got Ice Cream Social over here. It checks all the boxes. It's a 30%er. It throws down, so it's a grower's dream, and we're the only ones with it, and we've won a Cannabis Cup with it. Donny Burger's been one of the biggest selling strains in Montana for several years now. So I crossed Donny Burger to all my favorite strains. And now we're doing a whole new line of essentially Donny's daughters, which is Hurricane Dawn is Donny times Slurricane. We've got Donny times Ice Cream Social. I've got Donny times Donny. People are coming to me, my competitors, because I'm doing strain selection, and then I'm also hardening them off for them.
This is our mother room here. They're all in 4x4 grassroots fabric pots, Kiss soil, all on rolling trays. Our mothers, they'll go about 4 to 6 months depending on the cultivar. One thing that has been mentioned to me that's kind of unique to us, trellising our mothers. You can really work the plants out so you're maximizing the canopy and clone.
We usually end up taking about 1,000 clones off of the moms per round. I'll typically soak the cubes in a feed of some calcium and nitrogen, and then I'll usually add some kelp and some mycorrhizae in there as well. Get dipped and plugged in here, and then about 12 days, they go up and get transplanted into the veg room.
From that point, we'll put them in 6-inch pots and we'll bring them over to our veg room. Oh, in this room, it's all filled with Kiss Organics. Essentially, I did a side-by-side of 6-inch pots of my soil that I built that I was very proud of, and essentially root development, growth, everything about the Kiss Organics soil pretty much dominated mine, which was hard on my ego, but I'm not one to argue with good results, and so I switched over. We will put Kiss Organic soil in 6-inch pots. We'll take these rooted clones, we'll plant it in there, and we'll put it in a high humidity veg room for approximately 2 weeks until those roots are just starting to get root bound.
And they'll get some sort of starter feed of usually a nitrogen, calcium, kelp, some sort of tenon or trichoderma treatment as well. And that's just a highly concentrated nitrogen, so that one's kelp.
At which point we will transplant them into an empty greenhouse. We will let them tap in and make sure that they don't have any sort of transplant shock or anything like that for the next 10 to 14 days, at which point we will flower them.
We have a special message for you growers out there. We've collaborated to launch something new, standing on the shoulders of living soil giants like Adam at Collective Elevation, who have shared their learnings of how to formulate the highest quality all-natural inputs possible to grow the most flavorful cannabis. Rob, take it away.
From the Stash has been working on something game-changing with the team at Growers House, and today we'd like to officially announce that Stash Nutrients is here.
You already know, Stash Blend has the all-in-one additive that changed the game for growers. But now, we're taking it to a full system. Introducing Stash Base for veg and Stash Bloom for flower.
These two products complete the lineup: clean inputs, balanced ratios, and a very easy feeding approach. It's as simple as mixing Stash Base or Bloom into your media, watering that in, then also adding in Stash Blend every week or two.
Now, Stash Base pushes strong structure, great veg growth, and overall stability for your plant. Bloom brings in the weight, density, and overall quality that every grower is after.
And the best part, all three formulas are designed to work together with simple, predictable, consistent results from start to finish.
If you've been wanting an all-natural nutrient blend that's easy to apply without spending a ton of money, this is it.
Stash Base and Stash Bloom are officially here. Get the new bundle or grab the bags you need. Visit StashNutrients.com today and take your stash to the next level.
So once they're in the flowering greenhouses, do you add any nutrients? How often do you water? Like, what's the process?
So it depends on the season because Montana has a variable season. We water every other day with, Netafim drippers, but in the winter that might be closer to 3 days, and in the summer that might be closer to every day, day and a half, or maybe we'll do a little spurt, a little shot on one day and then a heavy water the next day. For the most part, that nutrient base will carry the plants through their entire life cycle. With that being said, we will tea, 2 to 4 times throughout their life cycle.
And then we do feed through from an irrigation creek, and I believe that has some sort of, there's fish in there and whatnot, Everything in the compound is well water. So even the little field we have over here is well water. These are all well water. And then we have a holding tank, so it does sit out. And then, the outdoor field is just pure, straight out of the irrigation creek.
With the living soil and everything, it's obviously not a sterile environment, so we're trying to work more with the environment rather than trying to control everything. We obviously use beneficial insects. About 3 weeks into flower is our first introduction, and then after that we continue every 2 weeks to introduce more. We're using a lot of biofungicides, bioinsecticides, things of that nature. Almost everything we use is OMRI listed, all organic approved. As the buds get really developed, it's a lot easier and better for the plant, in my opinion, to stick to beneficial insects, working with the plants rather than trying to play God.
Talk about the cannabis market in Montana, because Montana is kind of so hot right now with the whole show Yellowstone and you guys now being recreational. Tell us a little bit about that.
There's only 1 million people in Montana, and I think we're like the 3rd or 4th largest state. So this is a big state with still pretty low population density. However, because we have Glacier National Park, Yellowstone National Park, we've got Big Sky, we've got Bridger, amazing ski resorts. There's just a lot of recreational opportunities, which bring in a lot of tourists, and that lets us maybe support certain industries that wouldn't be available in your average small town. And the cannabis industry and specifically is unique in that Montana's been a personal freedom state since the very beginning. We were one of the first states to have medical cannabis, I think in 2004. Cannabis market kind of started maturing really early. However, there was a couple hiccups along the way. In 2011, there was big busts that shut down pretty much the entire industry and put the industry back to square one. That was right when I came on the scene in Montana, and it actually was a unique opportunity for someone like me in that the bigger established people had got put to the exact same size as me, which was 3 patients. Essentially, it just was a foot race with whoever's got the most passion, the hardest hustle, and we all got set back to square one. So from 2011 until 2017, the industry was in lawsuits trying to get our rights back. Basically, the legislature was trying to shut us down. Cannabis was it was legal, but it was very gray. There was a lot of risk. There was no banking. Everything was cash business. There was so many gray areas of even if you were legal to grow, as soon as you harvested, you were all of a sudden illegal. You were over your counts, over your amounts, and it's the Wild West. This was pre-metric, pre any regulations whatsoever. That risk was keeping big money out of cannabis, and it allowed us to build a brand, build our name.
We have a joke here that Montana does what Montana wants. On the first day of summer, we had a killing frost. Part of the weather, it's the same with the people here. It's like the weather just makes it rugged. Because we'll have 70-mile-an-hour gusts. It makes the plants really hardy and tough.
Not much margin for error when it's 40 below. In fact, one of my biggest fears is a power outage at midnight on a 40 below night. A couple things we did was essentially buy insurance policies, i.e. big generators and battery backup systems for all my heaters. With those 40 belows, you get a lot of condensation and microclimates within the greenhouse. And we started fixing those problems initially the first couple winters, that was leading to more powdery mildew and problems associated with that. Every greenhouse probably has $50,000 worth of quests in it, and I can honestly say I've pretty much saved my business from disaster on multiple occasions, and especially on those 40 below nights with that high temperature differential. So I use Quest a lot and truly appreciate what they've done for my business, which is save it.
You know, a lot of times the one challenge with living soil is you have this pretty dense microclimate in between the soil and the canopy. And I really was kind of looking for a fix to stir that microclimate up. So I had found a company, told them about this project, and they had quoted me about $95,000. Ended up seeing duck socks at MJ BizCon. Then when we started building this out, and I was like, oh, I can make this system for a whole lot cheaper. Ended up doing this entire project for about $7,000. So this is kind of a homemade humidifying system. It is hooked up to an RO line that has a float switch in the bottom, and we grabbed about a 35-gallon trash can with a wheelie base on there and made these PVC tubes out of just any household PVC that you could get from Home Depot, Lowe's, anything like that, with a inline 6-inch fan here in the back to pressurize the trash can, forcing all of that fog out through the top of the PVC.
That is, what do they call it? Garage engineering.
Yeah.
Adam, like, you know, when you harvest these plants from flower, it's like this beds are staying there, but the plant's got to go. How do you like take the plant out and then get it ready for the next plant to come in?
Yeah, so we call ourselves low till. Being able to replicate a forest ecosystem process is not tilling up the land, whereas modern agriculture has gotten into this concept of you have to till and you have to re-amend every single time. Well, it's not exactly possible to do no-till on the scale that we're doing, so what we do is we call it low-till. So we will chop the plant, throw that biomass into our compost pile, and I will use it on my outdoor crop. So then what we'll do is we'll rip out the root ball after a few days. A lot of times that'll leave most of the fine feeder roots, and it'll just take that main root ball. These fungal mycelia will attach themselves to the roots of these plants. So by doing a low-till disturbance, we can leave those mycelial networks intact, and then you can plant the next plant in and it can tap right in where the other plant left off.
Everything from like the time that the plant is chopped down at harvest, it's all post-harvest for me. So to pre-pack, like final packaging, retail ready, that's kind of my realm. We hand trim, we also use a Mobius trim machine. We've got a sorting machine from Green Bros. And then we do pre-rolls, capsules, vapes, you name it, we do it. And I mostly oversee all of the production side of that.
I was chatting with Adam earlier and he was talking about how pre-rolls were just taking off within the Montana market. And he said that it was taking up so much time from your staff.
Yeah, so about 2 years ago is when we really started seeing a big jump in pre-roll sales. It was about 4 people, 5 days a week to roll anywhere between 8 and 10,000 joints. And now with Hephaestus, we can roll that with 1 person in about a day. Even within the pre-roll sector, you have different SKUs, you know, everything from like a dog walker to a 1 gram to a blunt to infused products. This machine has the capability and the versatility to really just do whatever we need in an ever-changing market. In the industry, there's different types of machines. Some just roll like straight, cigarette style. We really like cones, and we really like Dutch folds.
Being able to do cones, being able to do a straight wall cigarette style tube, being able to do blunts. You have a lot of versatility with one machine. You know, if you are only doing cones now and down the road, you may want to switch in and do some of these other SKUs. You're not reinvesting into a new system. Our machine can already do that. The fact that our machine can process infused material, infused pre-rolls are the hottest growing segment in the industry right now. Some other pieces of equipment will require you to use their cones or their papers, or they only work with certain cone manufacturers. Our machine is cone agnostic, as we like to say. Doesn't matter what you're using, we can adopt the machine to be able to run your particular papers.
When we found that Hephaestus machine, it is pretty much plug and play. You dump the product in, you set a stack of cones there, and you just stand there, and it bumps out at, every couple seconds, 2 perfectly packed, perfect burning, Dutch folded, finished goods. So finding that Hephaestus machine actually was revolutionary in that it turns out that we get more per pound from a finished joint that was from our smalls than we do from our top shelf flower. So essentially it turned one of our lowest value products into now one of our highest value products.
They're a family-run company that really backs their products. They're like, hey, you bought our machine and we're gonna support you this whole time, and whatever you need, we're there.
The machine's hooked up to Wi-Fi, so we're able to remote diagnose any issues that's going on with the machine. Obviously, if we can take a look at it from afar, that allows us to figure out what's going on a lot quicker. If it's something simple, we can tell the operator what to do to get them back on their feet. Let's say a part went out, okay, then we're gonna overnight the part to you. Another thing is we have customer support all over the world, so we can provide 24/7 customer support. It allows operators to succeed and maximize their profits while improving efficiency, consistency, and product quality. Well, another nice aspect of this machine is it's made for large-scale MSOs. It's also made for mom and pop size operations. And on the MSO side of things, one thing that we're able to do is calibrate the machine and save recipes in there. So the recipe is going to be whatever SKU you're looking to create. We program it in there, we save it. So that way, if you're producing this product in California, now you're opening up a facility in New Jersey and you want to produce the same thing there, we can just copy that recipe and ensure that your SOPs are going to be closely followed.
Realistically, if you're really pumping, a whole bunch of pre-rolls out of this thing, how many can you do in a day?
We have some operators hitting 2,000 pre-rolls an hour. Comfortably 1,500, 1,800 pre-rolls in an hour with a single operator. Those are very realistic numbers.
We've had this machine since April and we just reached over 500,000 now. Yeah. So we're pretty proud of that. And we don't even run it every day. So it's pretty awesome.
This is a very beautiful lab that we're sitting in. And as I understand it, this is the new evolution of Collective Elevation's lab, which this is not where you started. What products are you making here in the extraction lab?
Smoke grade dabs, so sugars, shatters, crumbles, anything that you would dab on, diamonds, THCA, a lot of distillate now. We're really honing in on distillate production, crude production for edibles, basically inputs to a lot of other products that isn't just flower, joints. So when you're looking at drinks, edibles, chocolates, we do topical therapeutics, Tiger's Balm, but a medicated version of that.
I know that you're very proud of this new lab that you guys have just built. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's my pride and joy. It's taken a while to kind of come into fruition, and it's finally here. We've been doing a bunch of research to find the best equipment that we can to really be able to scale up where we are now and be able to scale up for the next 5 years, hopefully. Podtronic's booth has really been awesome. Working with them has been a great process. They're state-of-the-art C1D1 booths. We're using butane gas, with that being highly explosive, of having a sealed room that's engineered proper for the airflow to sweep that room and basically bring in fresh air and purge out all of the explosive air as quickly as possible. Podtronics does for us. It's got a sniffer in the room. We're fully sealed off. So any sparks in that room are sealed off through explosion-proof seals. Everything is covered, so we don't have to worry about any explosions. And that's where UL listing makes it really nice. We're assured through the listings that all electrical is proper, as well as the seals and everything else with the equipment. We built this thing, it was super easy. We were nervous when we got it out to see how it was gonna work to build. We were able to get up in 4 days, the structure of the building up in 4 days. Michael was super easy to work with. Ryan is awesome. Ryan was the sales guy. He's been awesome to work with.
Yeah, it's like the Keep Quentin Alive booth.
Exactly.
So he can make more infused joints.
Exactly. Just keep me alive, keep everyone alive.
Nice. Tell us about some of the other stuff that you kind of balled out on.
Yeah, we definitely balled out on the equipment this time. With the new equipment, we're running ethanol extraction for bulk extraction, large amount of biomass. Ethanol is the way to go. We can swap quickly. I'm running 15 pounds a day on this machine. I'm gonna be running 100 pounds a day on this machine. The scaling is really what we need. And when we're running it for crude and distillate, for food grade products and crude to make distillate products, ethanol is the way to go. And then the beaker and wrench, that's kind of our money-making system that we just got set up, which I'm super excited to run. We've got their rising film system. The purpose of that is basically our ethanol recovery. So the benefit of a system like this is we can recover all of the ethanol we've already used in extraction and reuse it. Being able to recycle everything, making it efficient is a key aspect of that machine. The next step in that process would be this decarb reactor over here, being able to run it. It's got sensors in it. So if I boil over, we've had issues where it foams up. When you're boiling off and decarbing, you foam up, it makes a mess. This system has full sensors to protect against that. And the final system is the big boy system. It's the white film. It's the 6-inch white film. That's the beauty in the center for sure. That's gonna be our distillate production, white film extraction. Between all of this system, we're about to be a powerhouse in the distillate production and crude production in the state.
I mean, it sounds like this stuff behind us, this beaker and wrench system, is kind of like a Rolls Royce or something.
It is.
Like
we've got the Rolls Royce of the systems right now.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, it looks good. I mean, everything is clean the way it's done, production. Sometimes you get equipment from big manufacturing, it just doesn't always look good. Taking these pallets, when we received them, they're turnkey, ready to go. So they're actually gonna be out here in a few weeks to come train on all the equipment. So as easy it is to use, they'll help you optimize the proper system for our system and how it runs. If I call, they answer, and they're there to answer any questions. My big thing with any piece of equipment that I buy is customer service. Beaker and Wrench really takes pride in that.
Our core values as people and our company are really important to us. We couldn't have done it without everyone who's stuck by our side since the beginning. We have a lot of people who have been here for 5+ years who really are dedicated to making this the best place that we possibly can.
Forcing us to be vertical, while it was a pain at the time, ended up being the only way that someone can achieve what is now pretty much the American dream. I couldn't recreate what I just did in today's climate because there's too much money, there's too many big barriers to entry, there's too much regulation. I was forced to overcome all these little obstacles one at a time, and it was still so risky back then that big money hadn't moved in yet. So we were able to get established with our brand, our name, our systems, our products before it was cool. And then we were able to hit the ground running in 2021 when full recreational went. And now we can take the Pepsi Challenge with any corporate. Good luck trying to come in here and buy what we have, which is passion. And now we're a leader in the cannabis industry in Montana. We're the biggest wholesale producer. We're the biggest living soil farm in Montana. Actually, we're the biggest farm in Montana. We've won more awards than any other facility. We're in some form or another, 80% of the stores in Montana, whether people know it or not, because even the most successful brands that aren't us use our inputs. Now we've become a leader as far as not only sustainability in this industry, part of the Living Soil Alliance, so we're working really hard to educate consumers and bud tenders alike on the benefits of living soil, but we also started hosting the Cannabis, Cultivation, and Science Conference with Tad Hussey from Kiss Organics. We invited all our competitors over and we said, hey, look at what we're doing. Not only did we have the confidence to show people our style, because the secret's not just what we're doing, the secret is actually hard work. So that disarmed a bunch of our competitors and that kind of made them our friends. My philosophy was if everyone did it the same way as us, which is sun-assisted, living soil, using greenhouses with a low carbon footprint, being the most sustainable in the industry, that would be better for the people, better for the planet, and it's technically cheaper to produce.
Spending time with Adam and his team at Collective Elevation was genuinely inspiring. Their story stays with you, not because it's flashy, but because it's real. They're the kind of people who you want to grab a beer with at the local dive bar and just talk for hours about plants and soil and the love of the craft. And what impressed us most was Adam's genuine openness. He doesn't guard his knowledge, he gives it freely. He even welcomes people into his facility who want to build systems copying his. That level of transparency is rare in this industry, and instead of creating competition, it's helped him build real friendships and a strong community around Collective Elevation. And that's why they've truly become a Montana favorite.
Huckabee. Boy. He's a good boy.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay, hold on, I gotta burp. That was for you, Marco. Stuck in here.
You got it there, frog.
There it is. Okay. You know what they say? Hephaestus is the bestest.
I do say that, yeah. So our machine is suited for multi-state operators. It's also great for mom and pop operations. Also made for smaller pop and shop operations. Mom and pop shop ops. Hop on top of pop. Mom and pop chop. Yeah.
One more time, please.
The machine's also great for mom and pop size operations. Mom and pop shops.
Got it.